What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope you're all doing well. So before we get to my mock draft, as promised, I am going to briefly talk about the NBA playoffs. We got the Sixers and the Celtics game too. Sixers win 111 to 97. VJ had with 30 and 10 rebounds, 36 from a loss for Jaylen Brown. But Philly gets even heading to Philadelphia and one game apiece. VJ Edwards, who briefly got hurt in the first quarter, comes back, had a huge second quarter, plays really well. He's had a great rookie season for the Sixers. That's being the top four pick this year. Well, he was actually the third pick in the draft. And a big reason why Philly obviously wins last night. So they even up the series at one game apiece with the Celtics. Our Trailblazers steal game two in San Antonio. They beat the Spurs 106-103. Wembanyama gets hurt in this game, suffered a concussion, did not return. Big game for Scoot Henderson, 31 points in this game, late three. Was big in the win and miss one. So a big win for Portland. And now Spurs got to hope that Wembanyama is healthy. Because this Portland team, look, Spurs are much better than them. They finished 20 games better than them for a reason in the regular season. Should win in 5 games, honestly. But without Wembanyama, this Portland team, they can be sneaky. You know, Denny Avia, Scoot. They got a lot of guys who can score the basketball. Thiago Splitter has done a very good job with that team. By the way, I'm hearing like their coaching search is going on behind closed doors. I don't know why they haven't just given him the job. He's done a very good job. The situation he was put in, he should already be given the full-time head coach position, if you ask me. But he's done a very good job. I mean, Lakers beat the Rockets 101 to 94, took a 2-0 series lead in this one. Marcus Smart had 25 points, 7 assists, 5 steals. Big game for Marcus Smart. For the Rockets, they're in trouble. Kevin Durant did not play well. 23 points for him, 104 from three. Way too many turnovers. He had 9 turnovers in this one. Was very lazy defensively. They just did not play well. They were terrible offensively. They got nothing from their bench. They had the only guy off the bench who actually scored was Terry Eason, and he only had 10 points on 4 of 14 shooting. Jayshawn Tate had one shot in the 9 minutes. Clint Capella only had 3 in 5 minutes. Aaron Holiday only played 7 minutes. He was 0 for 3. Reece Shepard in 11 minutes was 0 for 4. Just Houston, they've looked really bad in the first 2 games of the series. Lakers are playing without Luka Doncic. They're playing without Wilson Reeves, and they're letting the 41-year-old LeBron hit 3-point shots on them. Luka is expected to miss the entire series. Reeves won't play till very late in the series, probably like a game 5 or 6 at best for them. And they're down 2-0. This Houston team is lazy on both sides of the basketball. Kevin Durant has not done enough, and he doesn't deserve it. But if they do not win this series, Ime Udoka's going to get fired. He will be scapegoated for this team losing in the first round, if that is what happens. Before we get to the draft, quick note in baseball. Zach Wheeler is going to debut tomorrow for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's very much so needed. They have lost 7 in a row. Their catcher, JT Realmuto, hurt his back, so he's going to be out at least 10 days. But he's debuting. He has not pitched since late August of last year because he had thoracic outlet syndrome surgery on his shoulder. And the Mets struggles obviously continue. They've lost 12 in a row. They're calling up Christian Scott. He's going to start tomorrow. Dave Pearson will remain in the bullpen, as he did in his last start when they had him piggyback off Tobias Myers. And for now, Kawhi Leonard will remain in the rotation despite his struggles. I think I'll have to rant again about them possibly on Friday or next week. I'm about after this team is driving me nuts. But let's get in to my NFL mock draft 4.0, I believe it is. My final mock draft. The NFL draft, the first round is tomorrow, starts at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. I may stream that. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm leaning towards it. But don't get your hopes up too soon. It's going to be in my basement, so I just got to make sure, it'll look okay. You won't like look. I want it to be like you only see kind of like the side of my face and make sure you can hear my TV. So I did a couple of tests a couple weeks ago. You probably saw if you follow me. Assuming you're following me. If you're not, you definitely should be if you're watching this. I think I found the way for it to work. So, but not sure if it's going to happen yet. But I am going to try. So keep your eye peeled for that. My NFL mock draft, first overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana. I think it's very obvious. It's been obvious for months. Every mock draft has had this. I think it's blatantly obvious. As for Mendoza, I've heard some people say, "Oh, he won't be the first pick in this draft." Some people are very high on him. Some people aren't. For me, I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but I do think he'll be a good quarterback. He is very accurate with the football. He's a very good decision maker. He's a very smart football player. Mainly a pocket passer. He can scramble. He's not, a great athlete by any means, but he can scramble. Does a relatively good job of avoiding sacks. Doesn't have the best arm strength. He has about league average arm strength, for sure. He did struggle against the blitz a little bit when he was at Indiana last year, which is something he'll have to work on for sure in the NFL. And I don't know if I love the Raiders situation. I mean, look, you got a great running back in Ashton Genty. You got a great tight end in Brock Bowers. Other than that, their Stephen Cole isn't very good. Their offensive line has a lot of question marks. First time head coach with Clint Kubiak, who I do like. I think he's a great offensive mind. We'll see how he works out as a head coach. So definitely be some growing pains, but if done right, I think he can be like what Sam Darnold is right now for the Seattle Seahawks, which I think Sam Darnold is a very good quarterback. I think he's a top 10-ish quarterback in the league. So if you're drafting, a guy first overall, you probably want the guy to be, a top five-ish guy. I think those won't be more than like, top eight, top 10 guy in the NFL at best. But I mean, Sam Darnold's, in that 8 to 12 range, and he just won a Super Bowl. So uh, for them, the first overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. Second overall, the New York Jets select. Bears select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana. I think it's very obvious. It's been obvious for months. Every mock draft has had this. I think it's blatantly obvious. As for Mendoza, I've heard some people say, "Oh, he won't be the first pick in this draft." Some people are very high on him. Some people aren't. For me, I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but I do think he'll be a good quarterback. He is very accurate with the football. He's a very good decision maker. He's a very smart football player. Mainly a pocket passer. He can scramble. He's not, a great athlete by any means, but he can scramble. Does a relatively good job of avoiding sacks. Doesn't have the best arm strength. He has about league average arm strength, for sure. He did struggle against the blitz a little bit when he was at Indiana last year, which is something he'll have to work on for sure in the NFL. And I don't know if I love the Raiders situation. I mean, look, you got a great running back in Ashton Genty. You got a great tight end in Brock Bowers. Other than that, their Stephen Cole isn't very good. Their offensive line has a lot of question marks. First time head coach with Clint Kubiak, who I do like. I think he's a great offensive mind. We'll see how he works out as a head coach. So definitely be some growing pains, but if done right, I think he can be like what Sam Darnold is right now for the Seattle Seahawks, which I think Sam Darnold is a very good quarterback. I think he's a top 10-ish quarterback in the league. So if you're drafting, a guy first overall, you probably want the guy to be, a top five-ish guy. I think those won't be more than like, top eight, top 10 guy in the NFL at best. But I mean, Sam Darnold's, in that 8 to 12 range, and he just won a Super Bowl. So uh, for them, the first overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. Second overall, the New York Jets select Orville Reese, edge rusher out of Ohio State. So, Jets have obviously been debating between Orville Reese or David Bailey, the two top edge rushers in this draft, for months. They definitely have a decision. I'm still not 100% sure who they're going with. I think the pick will be Reese. I, if I was GM, I would probably take David Bailey with those two. Reese could be like a Micah Parsons kind of player, just an absurdly good athlete, from the edge rusher position. He's definitely much more of a linebacker. Parsons is obviously more of a defensive end. He played both, his first 2 years in Dallas. He eventually, also now he's in Green Bay. He eventually was moved to defensive end full time. Reese, I think, is definitely going to be a stand-up, outside linebacker, off-ball linebacker. His pass rush sometimes needs a little bit of work, but if he hits his ceiling, he can be an absolute superstar. His ceiling is higher than David Bailey's. Bailey's, uh, his floor is definitely safer. Reese has more bust potential. Bailey doesn't have much bust potential. He could end up being just a fine player, but that's about the worst you'll get at his best. He could be an absolute stud. He's a better, better true pass rusher than Reese, a true defensive end. Maybe a little bit more versatile. From what I've heard, he bends a little bit better. Problem is Reese is a much better run defender, which Jets were. I mean, they struggled on defense and just overall on every side of the football last year, but especially against the run. So I'm not sure if that would be a wonky fit because of his some of his deficiencies in the running game. But I just think Bailey's a little bit more polished right now and has a safer floor. So I would probably lean David Bailey, but I think both should be excellent players. And I think the Jets are going to take Arvell Reese. I felt that for a long while. After the last week, the Jets canceled a workout with David Bailey. That either means that they know they're not taking him, so they're like, we don't want to talk to you, we're not taking you. Or they know they're taking him, so there's no point to work him out and talk to him any further. They have everything they need. He addressed it today. He said he had a FaceTime call with them that went very well. So I don't know which one it is. It's hard to tell. But I'm gonna say they take Arvell Reese. I think it will be Arvell Reese. Third overall, I have a trade. I only have one trade in this mock. In passes, I used to do like a bunch of trades. It was very messy, and in the last couple of years, I haven't done any trades. I'm doing one trade this year that I think is very certain to happen. I have the Dallas Cowboys moving all the way up from 12 to the third pick. I really think Arizona is looking to move down. They want to take offensive tackle at 3, and they want to collect more picks. They're going into a rebuild. You're looking to take a quarterback next year. So move back, you get a slew of picks. Dallas goes up 12 and 20. And I think they give up some other stuff. They'll give up like a fourth rounder this year, maybe a late round pick and maybe a third rounder next year, something like that. Move all the way up. I don't think Dallas should do it, but it's a Cowboys type of move. Jerry Jones has said he wants to retire with the most Super Bowls of any owner. Robert Kraft holds that title. He has 7. Jerry Jones has won 3. He's not been to a conference championship game in 30 years. He's 83 years old. I feel like he's going to try and go all in and really screw this up, which, look, he's trying to do. Obviously, he trades Micah Parsons for 2 first-round picks, and then trades a second and the first for Quinn Williams. And now I think he trades their pick and the Green Bay pick this year and some other picks that they're picked. I think they move up and get David Bailey. I could see it being Sonny Styles. I think they move up and they take David Bailey. Gives you a stud edge rusher. Obviously, your pass rush was very brutal last year. It's what happens when you trade maybe the best pure pass rusher in the NFL, like a Parsons right before the season. You bring him in. He's across from Rashawn Gary, who's good against the run. I think it's a good fit. You're strong on the inside with Quinn Williams, who's still a very good player, especially against the run. You have Kenny Clark there. I'm not sure what that linebacking core is going to look like. Hopefully, they can address that on day 2. They're going to have to. But now you should be able to cover up Bailey's run deficiencies, and this is a Bailey, a guy who could be a defensive rookie of the year guy. Within 2 or 3 years, should be a 14, 15 sack guy, and you move and get him. Again, I don't know what this does for you. I think this could easily make you a playoff team. You'll be very competitive in the NFC East. I don't think this will make you a true contender, so I don't think they should do it, but I think they will do it. 4th overall, the Tennessee Titans select Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State. By the way, I hope you like I put the draft ones in. I know I think I might have just forgotten on the third pick there, but Apologies, but I'm gonna try and put it in for every single pick. I hope you guys like that. So Titans, a lot of mocks had them taking Jeremiah Love. Well, different mocks have them go different directions, obviously, but a lot of people think it's gonna be Jeremiah Love. And the reason I think it's gonna be Sonny Styles, he just fits Robert Saleh's defense so well. If you're gonna bring in Robert Saleh, which I don't know why they don't think this is gonna work, I don't think it's going to, but if you're going to truly build a team with Robert Saleh as your coach, you obviously are going to play a crap ton of defense, and you're going to want to run the football. So I can see why you want to take Jeremiah Love. I think he's an outstanding player. I'd argue he's the best overall talent in this class. He certainly is in the top, one of the five best talents in this class for sure. You do already have Tony Pollard. I still think you can still take Jeremiah Love and make Pollard, your kind of change of pace back, third down back. Next year you can look to move off him to, use that money somewhere else, get back a draft pick for him maybe. But I think if you're a Titans, you try and you look at what they did defensively in free agency. You added to the defensive line, trading for Jermaine Johnson, signing Jonathan Myers, who you read, and both guys reunite with Robert Saleh. You add Alontae Taylor to your secondary. You had Cordell Flott to your secondary. Flott played for Dable with the Giants. He's their offensive coordinator. Obviously, Flott plays defense, but obviously still some familiarity there. The one position they didn't really address was linebacker. Styles is an outstanding talent, great against the run. If you're playing for Robert Saleh, you're going to want to try and stop the run. So I think he's a really good fit. He's an outstanding player, and Saleh gets a real good building block piece on defense in Sonny Styles. Fifth overall, the New York Giants select Jeremiah Love, running back, Notre Dame. So Jeremiah Love, I think it's gonna be a game changer. I know a lot of people don't love running backs in the top five. This is a weaker class. Obviously, there's no quarterbacks going outside of Mendoza in the first, maybe even two rounds. I don't see that happening. So positional value gets kind of thrown out the window, in my opinion, in a draft like this. I know the Giants have a busy room with Cam Scattle, who you drafted last year. I don't think Scattle's a three down back. He's coming off a major injury. Obviously, we see some of his live stream. He's banging his head against the table. He's banging that against walls. He breaks his leg a week later, his ankle a week later. He's on WWE television getting into a scrum with Dominic Mysterio. Just not the brightest bulb in the box. In all seriousness, he runs so aggressively. He's never going to be a three down back. He is a goal line back. I think he can be a very good one, but he is not a three down back. The sooner the Giants realize that, the better. You're going to be playing for John Harbaugh. His recent years, the most success he had with the Ravens was when he obviously last year with Derrick Henry, they allowed you to pound the rock with the unblockable man that is Derrick Henry, led to some really successful quarterback design runs and read options with Lamar Jackson. When they had the most success was when they had elite defenses that they can lean on. If you're a Giant, you take Jeremiah Love, gives you a true RB1 all-purpose back. You have a goal line back in Cam Scatterbo. You have Tyrone Tracy there as well. I believe Devin Singletary is still there as well. And you still have that 10th pick to add to the defensive side of the football, which they did do throughout the offseason as well. So I think the Giants take Jeremiah Love here. With the sixth overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select Cornell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State. So I like Cornell Tate a lot. I think he'll be an elite deep threat. I think he'll be very dangerous in the red zone. He gives me like a Devontae Adams feel. I don't know if he'll be as good as Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, at the peak of his powers, was easily a top three receiver in the NFL. He had arguably a year or two where you could easily say he was the best receiver in the NFL. How late, into his, early mid-30s, he's still a very good receiver with the Rams. But I think Tate's going to be very good. Cleveland really needs a true pass catcher. Jerry Jeudy's fine, but he's not a number one wide receiver. Obviously has some drop issues. Now, the Browns quarterback situation is obviously a disaster with Shedeur Sanders, and you're paying Deshaun Watson all that money still to be a backup. But Cardinal Tate, I've had him going here in almost every mock, I think. Now, I could see them moving back. Maybe the Chiefs move up to get the player that they want so the Commanders or Saints don't snipe him, which is possible. But I think the Browns will take Cardinal Tate. I think that's what happens. With the seventh overall pick, the Washington Commanders select Mansour Delane, corner out of LSU. Delane is very clear the top corner in this class. He's got great speed. He's going to be a shutdown corner in the league for a long time. Reason that I look at the corner position here for the Washington Commanders, the Commanders are going to want to lead this draft certainly with a corner. They're going to want to leave probably with a running back. Krusky Merritt is fine, but nothing special. You run him a shot while he's a pass catching back. They're going to probably want to leave with a wide receiver, and they're probably going to want to leave with a center because they cut Tyler Byads in the offseason. There's no other running back here that is worth even the first round pick after Jeremiah Love. He's obviously off the board. There are a couple of things you could take here for sure, but Kyle Lemon, Jordan Tyson, if you believe in him. I mean, maybe a couple of others. But this receiver class is so deep, they can get one in the second round, second or third round without much of a problem. Center, you're not taking in the first round here. And linebacker, with something styles off the board, there isn't one worth taking quite yet. But there will be one worth taking in the second round. So my thoughts are, Delane, get yourself a shutdown corner. They thought Marshall Allen would be there when they traded him for a couple of years ago. He ends up kind of washing out last couple of years. He's not been the same player. So Delane goes 7th for the Commanders in this mock. With the 8th overall pick, the New Orleans Saints select Ruben Bain Jr., edge rusher out of Miami. Look, I think Bain's going to be a game wrecker. I understand the short arms. That's been, a big talking point. But I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. The tackles in college aren't that much, like tackles in the NFL rather, aren't that much stronger than the tackles in college. And he had no issues, overpowering tackles in college. Like I was sure with that you would think that's something he would have trouble with because it'd be easier for a tackle to really get into his chest and push him back. That wasn't the problem in college. Maybe at first there are some struggles, but I think by the end of his first year, he'll have show people, yeah, that's not going to be a problem. I'm going to be a great player, and by year 2, I think he'll be a star in the NFL. Saints get a top defensive piece. You pair him with Brian Breesy. Another reason for first round pick a couple of years ago by New Orleans. Ruben Bain, 8th overall of the Saints. 9th overall, the Kansas City Chiefs select Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon. So this has been discussed a little bit that it could happen. I haven't seen too many mocks with this. The reason I think this happens is I know the Chiefs are going to want to leave here with a corner. You have 29. You can get one there. Maybe you can move up. This is a deep class at corner. Another going to want to leave a receiver at some point. Patrick Mahomes has shown that he can still win a Super Bowl with a very weak receiving core. He can carry the receiving core that isn't very good. If Rasheed is fully healthy, it looks like he's not going to be suspended to start the year. If Xavier Worthy is fully healthy, and then you add another solid piece in this draft, that should be enough. Kelsey's going to be 36 years old. I thought he'd retire after last year. He's still going, but not for much longer. You add Sadiq that gives you 2 legit pass catching options at the tight end position. Take some pressure off of Travis Kelsey. And when he retires, you have his hair pin already sitting right there, and already fully developed. So Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, by far the best tight end in this class. He'll be a red zone monster. He goes to the Chiefs at 9. The New York Giants select Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State. I really think this is going to be the pick. The Giants going to the draft, I think we're the most connected to Cardinal Tate, Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles and Jordan Tyson. That they knew they were only going to get able to get one of those guys. They can now get two of them after the extra Lawrence trade. So that actually works out for them. They 11-5, they get Caleb Downs at 10. I need the safety, and know he had that knee that popped up during the combine, but I think he'll be fine. Uh, he's arguably the best player in this class. I think one of the five best talents in this class. He can do everything. He can cover. He can play as like a hybrid linebacker. He can stop the run. He can get to the quarterback. The guy can do everything. He's a do-it-all safety. He's the game-changing defensive piece that the Giants really need. You add him at safety, that kind of can cover up some of the woes you may have at the cornerback position after losing Cordell Flott. Your best cornerback was who? Greg Newsome at this point. You added, who's the linebacker that you added? Tremaine Edmonds you added in for agency. You still have a ton of talent up front on the defensive line. You got John Harbaugh coming in. The Giants add another really good piece in Caleb Downs. The 11th overall pick, the Miami Dolphins select Makai Lemon, wide receiver at USC. So I know some of his interviews came back not so great. Apparently he was smoking weed at the combine. What I've heard, the problem isn't that he was smoking weed. It's marijuana. It's 2026. I don't agree with that, but all the people, in the society don't frown upon that anymore. It's that he did it in front of everyone, all the scouts of the combine. That's like the same thing as saying, like, look, everyone speeds, but don't do it in front of a cop. Cop sitting right there, bring your speed down. At that point, if you get pulled over, it doesn't matter, how annoying the cop is being. Like, you did it right in front of him. He's got to enforce the law. He's just doing his job. Nothing you can say. However, if he's able to, put that behind him and, not let his get too big of a head in the NFL, he's an exceptional talent, arguably the most talented receiver in this class. He's going to be a great receiver in the NFL, especially out of the slot. Dolphins, I really think this is going to happen. I've been pretty confident for a few weeks now that this is the direction they're going at 11. They have to pretty much go best player available because of how devoid of talent they are. I can see why they might want to go offensive line here. They're trying to revamp that line, but you do have another pick very late in this first round that you could do that. This is a very deep tackle class and offensive line class in general. You could always move up from that pick if you need to. If a guy is falling, he will get to you. And you get yourself a wide receiver one, which you do need. Right now, your wide receiver one is Malik Washington. That's not good. He's a wide receiver 4 in the NFL, I would say. Makai Lemon to the Dolphins at 11. At 12, Arizona moves back with the Cowboys, and they take Spencer Fano, offensive tackle out of Utah. This will be what happens if they move back. I'm very certain about that. I think that's the guy they want. They need a right tackle really bad across from Paris Johnson. You can get that with Fano. Fano, I think, will be a very good offensive lineman. He may have to move to guard, but he should have an opportunity to stick at right tackle. I think he definitely could. Whatever position he plays, he will be very good. So Arizona gets a big upgrade on their offensive line. The 13th overall pick, the Los Angeles Rams select Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State. Same thing I said about Makai Lemon. He could be the most talented receiver in this class. There's also a very strong case to say the same about Jordan Tyson. The issue is the health. He had a lot of injuries at Arizona State, which is a little bit frightening. Okay, it's a little frightening. But he's an exceptional talent. I had a chance to be a great receiver in the NFL. I know, like at the comment at first, his injury count came back clean, but teams are definitely still worried about it. It's a concern. But if you're the Rams, you had an excellent offseason. Obviously, address your secondary. I know. Look at the right tackle spot with Rob Havenstein retiring. Warren McClendon right now is the starter. Is he a starting right tackle in the NFL? I don't know. But again, you can get an off the tackle in the second round. So I think somebody will be there. If you're the Rams, you're trying to win a Super Bowl now. Stafford's obviously getting much older. How much longer is window going to be open? This year's pretty much Super Bowl or bust for the Los Angeles Rams. You're trying to win now. Jordan Tyson gives you the best receiver trio in the NFL with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. And maybe next year, where when Devontae Adams leaves, maybe he retires or he kind of falls off. You have an excellent young deal with Puka Nacua and Jordan Tyson. When Jordan Tyson goes to the Rams, Rams take a chance on him. 14th overall, the Baltimore Ravens select Vega Iane, offensive guard, out of Penn State. He is the best guard in this class by a mile. I argue maybe he's the most NFL-ready offensive lineman in this class. He's going to be a great guard. Ravens need help on the interior of the offensive line with Tyler Linderbaum leaving for agency. Obviously, he was your center who was an All-Pro. And then you get an elite guard in Vega Iane. This is a team that's going to want to run the ball with Derrick Henry, obviously, and they can do that a lot easier when the interior of their offensive line is elite, and it can be with a Vega Iane. At the 15th overall pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jermod McCoy, corner out of Tennessee. So McCoy tore his ACL before the last season started at Tennessee, so he did not play last year. If he did play and was healthy and was himself, he would have been probably the first corner off the board ahead of Mansfield Delane, would not have gotten past the pit, out of the top 10. So injuries obviously pushed him a little bit further down, but he's a guy who was a burner when he played at Tennessee. He still is. He ran a 4.4 at his pro day. Obviously, got to keep an eye on that knee injury. But if it holds up, he's going to be an elite corner in the NFL for sure. The Bucks lose Jamal Dean for agency. I think they definitely would have looked at Kenyon Sadiq very heavily. I've had mocks that have had him going there. A lot wants to have him going there, but he's off the board. They filled that cornerback one spot that's left open by the departure of Jamal Dean in the offseason with Jamal McCoy. And the 16th overall pick, the New York Jets select Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver out of Indiana. From the Jets, I think you look at the board and you're like, so the pieces that you were looking at, no, I think you want to get out of here with a corner. I have a draft at some point with a corner. McCoy is off the board. You look at, I think there's some other corners that could go in this first round. I won't say whether or not I have another corner going in the first round. I won't spoil anything, but it's a little early to do that right now. So I think you're like, all right, this class is deep enough. I'll wait till the second round to do that. I would think they want to get out of here with a linebacker. That's something that, again, you could maybe, take Jacob Rodriguez, might be a little bit of rich, but I think that they hold off on that. I haven't heard them connected to him at all. And although I'm not sure this is where I would go, this receiver class is so deep, you could, easily get a very good receiver at 33. But I think that receiving core outside Garrett Wilson's so bad, they want to really improve it, and they're going to have to in this draft. Omar Cooper, no, some people aren't sold on him. I like him. I don't think he'll ever be a superstar, but he's a guy, he's so good in space. He's so good with the ball in his hands. He's a guy, you just get him the football somehow, some way. He'll make magic happen. You've seen how good his footwork is and his body control is. He'll be a red zone threat, like a Demo Samuel type. Like he'll never be like a top 5 receiver in the NFL, but he'll be a guy. He'll always be an elite football player. That very versatile, great after the catch, great in space. And just take him at 16 and pair him with Garrett Wilson. 17th overall, the Detroit Lions select Monroe Freeling, off the tackle out of Georgia. I think Freeling is the best true left tackle in this class. He's still a little raw. He's going to need some development. But the Lions have the ability to play him at right tackle. I'm hearing they're moving Sewell to left tackle. So if you're doing that, you take Freeling. You can put him on the right side across from Penei Sewell, who I think is the best offensive tackle in the entire NFL. You added Cade Mays in the middle. You can put Tate Ratledge, who I think is good, next to him. So this really improves the Lions' offensive line that desperately needs to improve. 18th overall, Minnesota Vikings select Dylan Dynaman, safety out of Oregon. I think very clear the number two safety in this class. I think he'll be a very good player. I think he is basically Harrison Smith 2.0, which is why he works out perfectly for the Minnesota Vikings. I've mocked him here before. A lot of mocks have him going here. If he's on the board, I'd be shocked the Vikings don't take him. With the 19th overall pick, the Carolina Panthers select KC Concepcion, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. If I'm Carolina, you added an edge rusher Jordan Phelps and free agency. You added an inside linebacker and Devin Lloyd. I think you're pretty set defensively. I think you're pretty set along the offensive line. I think they need to get another playmaker for Carolina for Bryce Young. Bryce Young needs a lot of playmakers compared to other quarterbacks in order to have major success in the NFL. Some mocks have had him taking Kenny Sleek if he's still there. My mock, he isn't there. Those top receivers, Tyson, Lemon, Tate aren't here for them. So they now take Casey Concepcion. Some people aren't super sold on him. Some people might think this is really high for him. I think in the perfect world, you get him the very end of the first round or early second round. But if you're Carolina, you really got to get a playmaker in there for Bryce Young. I believe he is the best one left on this board. I do like Casey Concepcion. I think he'll be a very good slot receiver. You get yourself, you already have McMillan there as, the big X receiver who can be a downfield presence. You'll be able to run the football, obviously. Triple Hubbard's a very good running back. I think Jalen Coker is fine. And you get yourself a guy who can be really good, on thinking ducks over the middle and in the slot. So you got like Bryce Young, who doesn't have the best arm in the world. Casey Concepcion will be very valuable for him and for the Carolina Panthers. 20th overall, Arizona Cardinals, who will of course move down with Dallas. They select Keldrick Folk, edge out of Auburn. So Folk's a weird player. He's a great run stopper. He did not produce much as a pass rusher in college. Not sure how much he will in the NFL. Kind of reminds me of Shamar Stewart from last year. Bengals took him at 17. He wasn't great as a rookie. We'll see what the rest of his career brings. So I got the hesitation on Falk. I happen to think he's the very clear number 4 edge rusher in this class. I think he'll be a very good player in the NFL. Arizona has invested a lot in the D-line in recent years. You signed Josh Sweat 2 years ago to a big contract. A couple years ago, you drafted Darius Robinson in the first round. You took Portnoy in the first round last year. He's a D tackle. Darius Robinson's been so bad, it's starting to look like that might be a miss. When you're rebuilding like Arizona is, it's much easier to build inside out, build them with trenches and outward. Arizona gets a piece on the offensive line, but they're fine at 12, and then a piece at 20 on the defensive side of the football in the trenches in Keldrick Folk. About 21st overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Francis Mauigoa, offensive tackle out of Miami. I like Mauigoa. I think he'll be a very good right tackle. May have to kick inside, but I think either way, he will be a very good offensive lineman. Most mocks do not have him falling this far. There's a good chance he won't, but in this mock, this is where the board kind of fell. I think Pittsburgh should really look at the offensive line. Everyone's saying Ty Simpson, Aaron Rodgers is 1,000. We don't know what his decision is. I get it. I really think he's coming back for another year. If he's not, you can't put Ty Simpson on the field in year 1 anyway. At that point, just start Mason Rudolph or Will Howard. Go 4-13 and 10, get a top 5 pick next year, and get your quarterback. Something they probably need to do for about 5 or 6 years now. Anyway, but I don't think Simpson is a first round talent. I don't like him at all. I don't know whether he's better than Garrett Nussmeier, to be honest. Both are not stars in the NFL. Only star in the NFL in this class at quarterback is Fernando Mendoza. But Francis Mauigoa, I think he'll be a good offensive lineman. Here's address the wide receiver 2 spot with Michael Pittman. They address cornerback in free agency with Jamal Dean. Last year, you addressed the tackle by taking Kenneth Grant in the first round last year. So you don't need to look at the defensive line. I think you look at the offensive line. Aaron Rodgers, he can still sling it. He's not the worst quarterback. He's still a serviceable quarterback in the NFL, which is impressive at 42 years old. His ball placement is still very, very good, but he's a statue. He could not outrun a freaking squirrel. Okay, he's slow as hell. You need a strong offensive line. Robert Jones got that neck issue. I don't know how many games he's going to play this year. Get yourself a tackle in Francis Marinella. 22nd overall, the Los Angeles Chargers select Emmanuel Pregnon, offensive guard out of Oregon. This might seem unpopular. I've had this in past mocks. Some other people have. I haven't seen it as much recently. You look at the Chargers, this is a really good roster. I love Justin Herbert. I love Jim Harbaugh. I love a lot of things about their roster. The offensive line was a major problem for the Chargers last year. Now, you added a much better center in Tyler Baez in free agency. If the two tackles, Joe Walton and Rashawn Slater, are healthy, that on its own is a big improvement. But that guard spot is still a complete mess. A lot of people think Pregnon's going in the second round. He might be more likely to do that, but I truly think he's a first round talent out of Oregon. And I think this is such a huge need for Chargers. If you can get him in there, I think he can do what you thought Mekhi Becton would do for you last year and just be a road graver in run protection. And Chargers are going to want to run the ball. I know they bring in Mike McDaniel as offensive corner. He's a more pass happy guy, but still, Jim Harbaugh's the head coach. Got that great defense. Play smash mouth football. Go with Emmanuel Pregnon. 23rd overall, Philadelphia Eagles select Akeem Mesidor, edge rusher out of Miami. So Mesidor is kind of a weird prospect out of Miami. Obviously, he is 25 years of age, so he's a very old prospect. He did produce a lot last year, but he also did it playing across from Ruben Bain, who was maybe the best player in all of college football on the defensive side of the ball last year. He was just so dominant. Not having him, will that be a problem? I think if he's in Philadelphia, he's playing next to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on the inside. I think that will be enough. He's a good player. I think he'll be a good edge rusher. I get the age, but Philadelphia, they're trying to win now. I'm not sure how much longer that window's going to be open. Well, it looks like A.J. Brown's going to be traded to the Patriots in about a month and a half or so. So I think Akeem Mesidor heads to the Eagles of the 23rd overall pick. 24th overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select Caden Proctor, offensive tackle out of Alabama. Browns got to get a left tackle in there. They have to leave this draft with a left tackle. They do have Proctor. Not sure how it'll look in year one. Him being on the line on that O-line. They did try and bring in a bunch of pieces for to try and rebuild it the best they could. I think they actually didn't do a horrendous job, but still, still a lot to be desired. A lot of injury concerns on the offensive line. So your one with Proctor might look ugly, but Cleveland, you're gonna suck. You hired Todd Monken. You know you're gonna suck. You want the first pick next year so you can do away with the Shador Sanders experiment and just get your quarterback, whether it's Arch Manning or somebody else. Get yourself a guy. This is a pick for next year, really. It's a guy like, all right, we know he's going to suck this year. That's fine. The goal is to have him truly earn the right to be a starting left tackle by next year. Caden Proctor to the Browns at 24. It'll be 25th overall pick. The Chicago Bears select Peter Woods, D-tackle out of Clemson. Now, Peter Woods, 2 years ago, if he was eligible to come out and he came out, would have been a lot higher. He might have been in the top 10. We're not going to have a top 20, probably not the top 15. Bit of a down year last year. I've heard a lot of people are high on him. Some people aren't. They're kind of split on him. I happen to like Peter Woods. I think he'll be a very good D tackle. Just, I wouldn't reach for him. A lot of people think the Giants might take him to replace Lawrence. I think that would be a major reach. I think he's a late first round pick. This is where he belongs. This is proper value. The Bears struggled on defense last year. You really struggled against the run. You add a couple of pieces. You add Devin Bush, who's very good against the run. at inside linebacker. Now you have Peter Woods at the tackle. This will really help you against the run. This improves the middle of your defense, which is what you need for the Bears. They take Peter Woods at 25. 26th overall, Buffalo Bills select CJ Allen, linebacker out of Georgia. A lot of people are kind of not sold on Allen, not thinking he's a first round pick. This is my thing with Allen. No, he isn't great in coverage, but he's a downfield thumper. That's what he does. He'll stop the run. He'll be a really good blitzer from the inside linebacker spot. And that is a huge need for the Buffalo Bills. He was really one of the only reasons that Georgia defense last year was even, still competing week in and week out at times. That defense kind of struck as a whole last year. I think he'll be a good pro in the right system. I think this is a perfect fit with Buffalo Bills. CJ Allen to the Buffalo Bills. 27th overall, the San Francisco 49ers select Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington. So Boston isn't going to burn anybody, not going to wow anybody with his athleticism. He is a possession receiver. He's really strong. He will overpower defensive backs very easily. Now, if you're the Niners, Mike Evans is well into his 30s, coming off a bit of an injury plague campaign. Kittle might miss time next year. Will Ricky Pearsall play even, how many games will he play? He's always hurt through his first 2 years. Ayuk won't be on the team. You need a reliable receiver for Brock Purdy. The defense will be better as long as they're healthy. Uh, get yourself a Denzel Wilson, a real possession receiver. Purdy needs a lot of weapons with a plethora of weapons like he'll have if they make this move. He can be a really good quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with. Maybe not because of him. He won't be the sole reason. Come out Sam Darnold last year in Seattle, but you absolutely can. He got close a couple of years ago. But Denzel Boston to the Niners, 27. 28th overall, the Houston Texans select Katie McDonald, defensive tackle out of Ohio State. McDonald, to me, is one of the safer players in this draft. He's never going to push the pocket much. He is a run stuffer and a really, really good one. Attack defense is already elite. I get you on the offensive line. They made a couple of moves. It'll be a little bit better. Nick Cassaro has at times said he thinks the offensive line is fine. It's not, but that's what he thinks. I think this is a really good fit. You put him in between Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter. Houston should have easily the best defense in football next year. Cam McDonald to protect us at 28. At 29, the Kansas City Chiefs select Chris Johnson, corner out of San Diego State. He's the number 3 corner in this class. I think he will get into the first round. Chiefs gotta leave here with a corner. They take Chris Johnson. They're gonna be a very good corner in the NFL. He's got very good speed. Chiefs get the heir apparent to Kelsey, which gives them allows them to use 2 tight end sets in year one of Sadiq, and they get themselves a starting corner, which is desperately needed with Chris Johnson. At 30th overall pick, the Miami Dolphins select Max Ihanakor, out tackle out of Arizona State. He's a little raw, but they got to overhaul off the line somehow. They get Ihanakor. He'll be your left tackle day one. 31st overall, the New England Patriots select TJ Parker, edge out of Clemson. My thoughts on the Patriots. I could see an offensive lineman here, though you did add Elijah Vera Tucker in free agency. He's a major injury risk, did not play a single game last year because he was hurt, but he is really good. I think you have enough pieces on that offensive line. You added, a bunch of different spots. You added that receiver with Romeo Dobbs. It looks like you're going to be getting A.J. Brown. It won't happen for 5 or 6 weeks, but you're going to get him at some point this offseason before the season starts this summer. So you don't need to receiver in the first round. I think you're relatively safe in the secondary. You did add Draymond Jones to that defensive line, but I just think I think you want to really fortify that. Get yourself a solid edge rusher in TJ Parker. You can put him across from Howard Landry. You have Draymond Jones as like a chess piece. In the middle, you have a couple good pieces in the middle. Milton Williams is a stud. I've heard rumors that maybe Christian Barmore could be traded, assuming he's not This is a team that's going to be really, really hard to run on. That's something that you want. I mean, yeah, they ran all over you in that Super Bowl. The Seahawks did. This makes that sure that doesn't happen again. TJ Parker to the Patriots. 32nd overall. The Seattle Seahawks select Emmanuel McNeil-Lawrence, safety out of Toledo. Seattle could go a couple different ways here. I can see a trade down possibly happening. I know they need a running back. I don't think you're taking one here. I think you can get a solid one, even in a weak class in round two. I could see them going offensive line, but I think they're relatively fine. You've drafted Charles Cross and Grace Abel in the last 4 years. In the first one, both of them end up being really good. Grace Abel, last year was a big piece last year. I can see him looking to address the defensive line. You did lose Boy Mafe, but those two guys in the middle with Williams and Murphy, you still have DeMarcus Lawrence. I think you'll be just fine. You still have some depth there. Secondary, you lose a couple of pieces. You did bring back Jackson Joe, but you lose not Joey Love. You lose Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen. You're also a little bit more depth than I would have liked you to in the secondary. Although you still have an all-pro in Devon Witherspoon. Julian Love's a really good safety. I think you want to fortify that. McNeil Warren's number 3 safety in this class. I think he'll be a good safety in the NFL, and the Seahawks add him to their secondary. That's my mock draft. That's all I got for you guys today. Till next time, so long. Have a great day.